Yo, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Pnoid News. Man, listen, how y'all doing today? I'm gonna tell you what. Listen, so I can't sleep at the moment, so I figure, what I mean, I run this about an hour, so I eat something, and I try to go to bed and see how the hell that worked out for me, you know what I mean? But, like, today we got Dr. Mike talking to Dr. Mike. I'll be honest with you, okay? TK Mal introduced me to Dr. Mike, right? The other Dr. Mike I already knew about because he gets recommended all the time on the YouTubes. He got 12 million subscribers, 12.3 million subscribers and whatnot, right? And, so I figure, this is probably something that is right up our alley. We're going to skip to, I love big pharma and exercise pills. Listen, this is completely ridiculous and nonsense he's about to say, so let's get into this.
What about the idea or the notion of our attention span starts dwindling because of innovation? Everyone's on social media that's short form, makes our attention span a little bit worse. Now we're overly prescribing attention deficit disorder medications. Food becomes hyper-processed and hyper-palatable. We create a medication like a GLP-1 agonist. Guys want to be stronger. They're taking anabolic medications even when their testosterone levels are within normal limits. How long until we're just taking 10 medications to hyper-optimize? Do you feel like that's an acceptable world? It's a good way to go? Not good way to go? What's your take on it?
I think it's a great way to go. I'm very, very pro-pharma. I'm still waiting on the checks from Big Pharma to clear. They haven't even showed up, believe it or not. I think it's just an address thing. They just don't know where I live. They're cutting checks to random people hoping.
It's a different Dr. Mike.
You're getting the checks. Like, I don't really know I'm getting this, but Pfizer just sent me $1 billion. So I am real bullish and really pro-modernity, science, and pharmacology. Being pro-pharmacology, I think it leaves me as a person who, 30,000 years ago is pro-fire. People are like, look, fire burns things. It just killed all those animals in that forest. You're saying we're using it to cook food? You must be crazy.
Yeah, listen, bro. This is always the nonsense bullshit that motherfuckers bring up when you go listen, we're human beings, right, as a whole, and adding fire to human beings is not a terrible thing. Helps us digest a little bit better, all this type of stuff, right? You're able to process meats better once they've already been cooked. Gets the proteins break down, all the type of shit, right? Breaks down fats, whatever. Kills bacteria, parasites, all these things, right? It's great, as a whole. And this is the problem. So you get down these stupid ass fucking rabbit holes with this nonsense, right? It's like, oh man, the guy who said, fucking the dude back in the day was anti-wheel or whatever it was, right? So, thing is, though, when you start talking about pharmacology, where you go from having human beings be bettered by something to having human beings have the opportunity to just sit around and not, do any of the things that would make them better humans is a terrible thing, right? I'll give you a good for instance of this, right? And this is the problem with guys like Dr. Mike, right? I was at work the other day, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm in the office and I look and there's this fucking broad. She looks like a fucking like a fucking Pablo Picasso painting. Like her fucking face is she's like this weird frog face thing that she got going on. I have no idea, bro. She got fish lips at the same time with a goldfish head, but with weird ass bug eyes and shit. It's fucking crazy, right? She got frog eyes with fish lips. It's crazy. Anyway, right? So she's sitting there and she has an insulin pen on her motherfucking joint, right? Because she's a diabetic. And at the same time, there's a cupcake that probably weighs 1.25 pounds, a bag of open fucking Cheetos, and then a bag of open hot fries. Insulin is not helping this lady. Insulin's actively making this person worse, right? Because what they're doing is they're just adding in a massive amount of carbohydrates and sugar that's going to be immediately turned into fat, which is going to make her condition worse, right? And as she starts to feel bad, she just takes an insulin shot and then she feels better and she can go and eat more fucking goy slop and shove it down her fucking throat. This is what the average human being does. And this is what drugs do for the average fucking person. You know what I'm saying? And this is the fucking problem, right? This is normal humanity, right? like normal humans, right? They don't stand here and go like, oh man, I got an issue. I should probably fix this. No, like the average human goes, yeah, listen, you know what, man? You got a pill I can take. Oh, that means I don't have to go and do like the hard work of exercising and dieting and do all the shit I got to do because that's what's good for me as a human. What you have to do for like the average humans, you have to set them up in a position where like, their lives themselves is what keeps them like on a proper, like even keel and a straight and narrow. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's we're going to keep rocking.
Crazy. It's like, well, yeah, it's got serious downsides, and it's something that needs to be carefully managed. But in context, if you carefully manage it, it's this huge boon. And over time, we can improve things. So I do think that to people that are interested, an increasingly nuanced and effective cocktail of pharmaceutical therapies can, should, and will become more and more accessible. I think that's a great thing. People who are saying like, oh, like all these drugs that we're taking, like all these pills, and I kind of wait for the punchline. I'm like, so what's bad about that? And
again, because of the fact that like what you're doing is you're just like giving everybody the easy route out of not doing any of the fucking hard work, right? Now, I'm not saying that you should be a gym bro, right, and go to the fucking gym, because that's dumb too. Like running on the treadmill is also fucking stupid, right? The problem is you have people who want to have an intellectual career and still have like the body of somebody who used to like go and hunt fucking antelope. It doesn't work, right? You can't like have the body of somebody who used to hunt antelope like on foot, right, with a spear, and at the same time have a job of somebody who, in 2500 or like in like 500 BC was literally like arguing inside of the fucking Roman Colosseum, right? In the end of the day, or the Greek Colosseum, or fucking in fucking Sparta's town square, right? You can't have both of those, right? You have to have like one or the fucking other, and you either that or you have to have some part of your life that's normal, that makes you have like a decent body, that makes you work and makes you do things to be able to survive, right? That way you have that ability to like build this type of shit to fuck up. And again, my answer has always been like localism, like have local food, local fucking blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like local fucking agriculture, so that way in your town, in your area, right? Not only are you like the guy who, like goes, hey, look, fucking I see your kids when they're sick or whatever, and I give them, like fucking Robitussin, and like I diagnose people's cancer. Also on top of that, you have to go fix the fucking road, right? Because you should be both people, right? Like, there's no reason to have this level of like fucking expertise and have this level of, singular focus for like human beings, right? It doesn't make any fucking sense, right? And it makes us worse as people, right? This specialization, there's a word I'm looking for, right? This specialization is not a positive thing in the end of the day, because like, and again, you get back to like, okay, so you became a scientist, and you also have a child. That means you're not just a scientist, you're also a dad, right? And I understand they're going to bleed into the two, but like, again, though, like each one's going to bleed into the other, and they should, right, as a whole, right? Like when you're making a decision about like whether or not you're going to make some crazy ass fucking bioweapon, you should see your fucking kid's picture and go, yeah, listen, this is probably going to be used to kill our little kids like mine. I'm not going to make this. You should have these things, right? And this is the whole fucking point. It's like, you are more things than just, that fucking scientist. This is the problem with this fucking guy here. It's literally like, all he is a fucking meathead goddamn fucking doctor, right? And he's made his entire life that. And he's surrounded by fucking people who, are 20 years younger. Well, 10... He's 40. I'm 20 years younger than him at all fucking times, right? Because he teaches in a fucking college. And in teaching in a college and being around these 20-year-olds, right, he sees life as being eternally young. But if he was around other 40-year-olds all the fucking time, he'd understand that, like, this is not how shit works. So, like, he was out here, like, in the hood, and he noticed what was going on, or in a trailer park, or in, like a fucking, like, an average suburb today, right, or in any fucking place, he would see and go, man, listen, yes, things are not, like, positive, and this is not how shit is, right? And this is the fucking problem. He's around these motherfuckers who are just, oh, man, listen, the whole world's in front of me, and like I'm excited, and like fucking I'm in this institution, and I came from another institution, right? And I've been in that institution since I was 5, and before that I was a toddler watching SpongeBob, right? Like, bruh, listen, you're not in real life right now. Let's keep going though.
And typically they'll get into just total non sequiturs or fallacies, like, well, they're chemicals. Like, watch this. just breathed in, I don't know how many moles of chemicals. You're made of chemicals. Everything's chemicals.
No, again, bro, like, this is fucking stupid. This is a dumbass argument, again, right? And I understand, like, oh, man, some dumb fallacy shit. It's fucking debate, bro, piece of shit. Shut up. Like, nobody cares about your fucking fallacy nonsense, right? You're having a real conversation, right? Yes, you should not be putting, like, fucking foreign chemicals into your goddamn body, right? That isn't something that you wouldn't have interacted with 300 years ago, right? Or probably longer than that, to be honest with you, because we've been dealing with, like, mercury and shit since the Bronze Age, and even all that was always terrible for us as a whole. Again, like, but yeah, you shouldn't be putting these fucking chemicals into your goddamn body all the fucking time, because they're not, like, it fucks up the chemistry of your body. It ends up having your body be, I don't want to say addicted, but like, it adjusts the way your body, your nerves, and your chemistry work. He's a fucking physiologist, like, bro, like, he's a goddamn fucking. He understands how the human body works, and he understands that these chemicals change the way you work, right? Without doing, like, the hard work of getting to where you are, right? And this is the whole fucking point. Is literally, if you're living a proper life, right, you shouldn't need fucking chemicals, right? Short of like, I got cancer because of some genetic thing or whatever it is, right? You shouldn't really need fucking chemicals as a whole. And that's just where it is.
So then they try to go, okay, that's not what I'm saying. It's artificial chemicals. Oh, gotcha. Snake bite is completely natural. Air conditioning is very artificial. Still, like, okay, that's actually called the argument from nature. It's a fallacy. So people say, it's just something, drugs are kind of bad. And he goes, I'm totally with you, because drugs have at least two downsides. One, they have negative side effects that we don't like. And two, some people who have access to these mega, huge hammer type of things like lifestyle intervention, better diet, better training, they look to these drugs, which are as yet very imperfect, and on sheer laziness, they'd be like, I don't want to exercise. I'll just take Ozempic. Mm-hmm. That's a thing I'm sure you're aware of, like Ozempic butt or whatever, where housewives who had no interest in resistance training or building muscularity, no interest in controlling their diets or eating healthier, they just take a crap load of Ozempic, and they're like, oh, I've lost a ton of weight, but now I'm sarcopenic. That's definitely a bad outcome, but I would say that's more of a slight misapplication of pharmaceutical technology, and there is such a thing as proper application. And I think in the end, we'll have a cocktail of drugs that are increasingly better at doing things, increasingly lower risks and downsides.
No, I mean, like, listen, no, this is actually the proper use of this drug, right? Because, like, what you're doing is you're giving somebody the opportunity to be healthier by losing fucking weight without having to go through the hard process of actually, like, losing the fucking weight, right? And that's what Ozempic is for, right? So this is the proper use of the drug. But again, we get back to these motherfuckers aren't interested in actually doing any real fucking work and, like, walking or exercising or fucking changing their diet or doing any of the lifestyle changes that are required to actually lose fucking weight. And that's the fucking problem, right? And that's the whole point of Ozempic. If you could do all that shit on your own, like, literally, you would need fucking Ozempic.
I think that's a world we want to live in. I'm going to say something insanely controversial to my own field here, but I very, very much stand by it. I really look forward to a world, hopefully in the next 10 or 15 years, where we no longer have to exercise. Exercise is a profound waste of time if you think about it. When I go to the gym and I physically hurt myself through pain, which has great psychological benefits, but there's other ways to hurt yourself that also teach you stuff. Like, I would much rather, I'm a competitive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athlete. I guess I'm not very athletic, but it's called a sport. I would much rather just do BJJ and never have to lift weights, because I'd like for the muscle to come from pharmaceutical or genomic intervention purely, so I can actually spend most of my time learning how to, beat up my childhood bullies. I'll show them. That's why we all do what we do. You're a boxer, correct? Yeah.
Bullied pretend to be.
Pretend to be, of course.
I mean, who's not bullied?
By the way, what up, fed up Southern girl, goddamn brown boy, motherfucking John Wayne's out in the fucking chat. My boy SMG Stone Mexican guy. What up, bro? How the fuck you doing? You know what I'm saying? Nice to see you the fuck out here, man. Listen, keep going.
I think some people got away with just doing the bullying. They've got to be around.
Maybe. But isn't the saying hurt people true?
You know what? I actually have looked into the literature on that, and that's actually not true. People who are bullies typically are not the people who had been bullied elsewhere. They're actually just the people that bully. And the people that are getting bullied are typically the people that get bullied in a variety of circumstances in their lives. Kind of a trippy realization. There's nuance to that, of course, but it's...
See, and then he says some base shit like this. Like, I'll be real. And so, again, like people who are higher, you know what I mean, like status individuals tend to like push down motherfuckers who are lower status individuals, and lower status motherfuckers end up getting run over their whole lives, right? So victims stay as victims like their whole lives because they're natural victims, right? And then you have like guys who are just like top end, and as they get older they tend to actually, like, bullies will stop bullying because, you know, this is what you learn from bullying is that, like, yeah, listen, you're not playing fair and people don't want to really be around you when you're being an asshole and being a bully and shit, right? It just tends to be how the fuck it works. You know, bullies grow out of being a bully. Like, you know, they'll fucking grow up and go, oh, man, listen, like, that was fucking terrible. I shouldn't have did that shit. That was fucking awful, right? And then you get older and like, man, listen, you know, I got kids, I got all this shit or whatever, you know, you're like, man, listen, fucking, this is probably not the positive way to live. Hey, you be nice, you know, that type of thing.
It's very easy to say, like, oh, well, that's just a person who's been hurt by others. Like, nope, that guy's just a piece of crap, and he's just been hurting people his whole life. And, yeah, some people need humbling, right? Sure. But I do look forward to a world in which we don't have to spend time very artificially exercising so that we can do amazing things with our bodies, like go skiing, go hiking, play with our children, and have the health benefits of exercise endemic to our very DNA or through really, really good pharmacology. You take 2 or 3 pills a day, you're good to go. In laboratory animals, they have already an exercise pill. It works great in rats and mice. Mm-hmm. You take the pill, and it just does everything exercise does for you, short of a few things, but almost all of them. And if you think about it, like, how is that possible? Well, what do you think exercise is doing? How is it benefiting?
Yeah, listen, all right. Again, you get back to this is a dumb way of doing things. You're making human beings dependent on a system, right? But this is what managers do, right? This is part of the managerial elite, right? And the managerial elite, they want to be in charge of shit, right? And this is like why the fuck he became what he became. Like, a guy's like 5'1" and shit, right? You know what I'm saying? And then being like 5'1", he always felt powerless. Now he feels powerful because he has like his big platform and he's in charge of all these people and these kids have to take his orders, you know what I mean? Because he's a fucking teacher and shit and all this stuff. He's a professor, right? This is the fucking itch. He's a business owner, all this shit, right? At the end of the day, this is the fucking problem. It's like, hey, look, yeah, listen, I don't have no problem being hooked on a fucking system and da-da-da-da. Like, no, all right? Like, legitimately, you shouldn't be, like, relying upon a fucking system that is, you know what I mean, completely based off of like manufacturing and nonsense and garbage and all the bullshit when it comes down to it. What you should have is, you know what I'm saying, like a fucking community and a family and like, you know, all the things that you need around you, right? And that way, like, it's more durable because all you need is like one thing to run the fuck out in that whole manufacturing process and everything goes completely to shit and the whole fucking thing collapses. That's a giant ass problem, and we don't have that conversation. And on top of that, you start having people, when you have like people who are fully reliant upon shit, motherfuckers start, you know what I mean, becoming predatory about it and holding it over motherfuckers' heads. It happens all the fucking time. That's, you know, anytime the government gives you something, they never go, oh man, listen, here, this is free. It's no, here's all the strings attached to this. You know what I mean? You can have this if you do this and this and this and this and this. It's how the fuck shit always works.
Beneficial. It's really just accessing various molecular pathways and turning them up and turning others down. Mm-hmm. You can do that with a pill. And if you did, what exactly is so wrong about that? And then people get into the philosophical part of you should have to earn it, which I just don't really, I understand where that's coming from, but I wildly disagree with it. Mm-hmm. What you have to earn is your income. What you have to earn is the respect of other people. Do you have to earn a good body? If that's the case, you know, some people, I'm sure you know people that are just in damn good shape just cause. Mm-hmm. Is there something they're missing in life because they didn't have to struggle? I would say no. But in a sense it is yes, because it's like some amount of struggle is insanely healthy for your psychology. Mm-hmm. Cool. But there's so many ways to get struggle in life. I would rather spend less time exercising and more time challenging my brain with new ideas. That's real struggle. More time doing MMA and BJJ. That's also real struggle. More of an opportunity for me to have free time with my family so that I challenge myself in interpersonal relationships to be the better version of me. There are many, many ways to struggle. If you think of problems as really good things, I totally agree. But if we get rid of as many problems as possible with pharmacology, we have more bandwidth for the other problems that are left over. Mm-hmm. Because like every time I'm in the gym lifting weights, I'm not working on my familial interactions. I'm not working on my brain. There are only 24 hours in a day. If pharmacology can handle more of those things for us, I would think that's just an unbelievable, beautiful thing.
I think it's very idyllic. I think when people get more time in a day, generally speaking, the majority of people are not gonna make the time to say, oh, well, since I'm not challenging my body now in the gym, I'm gonna challenge it by reading something or pushing my knowledge. It's gonna be chasing some.
Yeah, when you take away somebody's like fucking like reason, right, as a whole in life, you take away like the struggles they have, they just tend to fall to shit, right? They don't end up becoming better as people, right? It's not how shit works, right, as a whole. I mean, like, and this is the whole thing about, like, who the fuck he is and who he's surrounded by. When you're surrounded by, like, people who want to go to college, and when you go to college, what you do is you go and you fill out, like, this college, like, fucking essay and shit, right? And in it, you say, like, I want to change the world. In other words, what you're saying is, I want power, right? So these are ambitious people that he's surrounded by all the fucking time. But the average person isn't that. The average person is lazy. Like, they don't want to do shit. They just want to hang the fuck out, you know what I mean, and get high and do whatever. And, you know what I mean, like, they'll self-destruct if they don't have anything in their life that's worth living for. And that's something that we don't really have a conversation about.
Sort of high, some sort of happiness, where exercise can give that to someone through struggle, versus if you can remove the struggle and still get the benefit, the way that you're going to seek happiness might not be as idyllic as, oh, I'm going to continue challenging myself by doing X, Y, and Z.
I think that's definitely true for a lot of people. I would posit that the vast majority of people who go into exercise are already the people that are going to seek challenge in other things in their lives. And the people that are the kinds that would just take the easy way out, they don't work out to begin with. So if you have someone who is driven enough to go to the gym and do something, when you say, hey, here's this pill, you don't have to go to the gym anymore, they're going to look around and go, how else can I challenge myself? My wife is a perfect example of this. She needs to challenge herself. She got a really extensive medical education. She's actually a board-certified sports medicine doctor. And once she finished her medical education, we're doing super, super well in life. We moved to a new place, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to continue her medical stuff. And she tried like a few weeks of just being like rich dude's housewife or whatever. It just didn't work. She was like, at the end of the 2 weeks, she was like, she like took on 10 different work responsibilities to fill the void of having to push herself. I think the people that go to the gym all the time, that void isn't going to be replaced by scrolling. It's going to be replaced by other forms of challenge. Now, there's still another group of people who they're not into the challenge thing. You challenge them and they're like, is there any way I could just not do this? They're not the people you typically see in the gym, because I think in our world, we think of people as people work out, blah, blah, blah. But maybe not in your world, because the medical field, you guys typically like, you should be working out, and almost no one does it. So you know very, very well that a lot of people, it's real hard to get them to challenge themselves at all. You would hope they go exercise. They're just not interested in it. So I think precisely the people that were worried about taking away their exercise and they no longer have a way to challenge themselves, I'm pretty convinced those people will find a way to challenge themselves. But still, other group of people, they're not in the gym. Their health is in a real bad spot. They're not interested in them challenging themselves already. So it's kind of like the two groups are rather separate.
Yeah, I feel like I function in a different world than most doctors who are on social media, medical doctors. You take someone like Dr. Peter Attia, who has a lot of knowledge from academia, from personal anecdotes, studies that he's run unofficially with his patients. And I say that because a lot of the stuff that is being recommended as protocols is experimental. Like, we don't have evidence-based trials for those things. Yeah, cutting edge.
He also has a great haircut.
I understand why you say that. And the way he practices medicine is through a concierge model, charging over $100,000 per month, having unlimited time with patients.
Hell am I doing with my life?
This is not the world I function in. I work at a community health center where the medicine I prescribe to my patient could be the cheapest medicine ever, but if I prescribe capsules instead of tablets, they can't afford to get it. So the world of the person that wants to crush it in the gym and hyper-optimize, to me, is like this outlier example.
Very outlier.
That the people that are going to benefit from this pill that will then continue on challenging themselves is not even in the 10th of a decimal point percentage-wise.
Maybe.
So I wonder how it's going to impact the general population of who ultimately I end up seeing. Because something that you talked about on some of your podcasts is when a patient comes in to see a doctor, why doctors are not great at delivering information about diet, exercise, why do they run to the pill? That's like the the quick example that most people say. Doctor just pushed a pill on me.
Yeah.
And some of the things you pointed out were true. Doctors don't have a lot of time. They might want to take a shortcut. There's also the idea of the patient wanting a quick fix, that pharmaceuticals work so great. I want to debunk that notion right now. Pharmaceuticals suck. Blood pressure meds, they're better than ever before. They pale in comparison to the change I can make in a patient's blood pressure with diet and exercise. Like the levels aren't even close. If I want to lower my patient who has diabetes, their hemoglobin A1C to be in a level of control, the amount of change I can make by lowering their weight, by helping them exercise, maybe changing their intake of food, certain nutrient-wise, is huge. Maybe the only way I can get that drastic amount of a change is through insulin. But anything else?
Yeah, a lot of downsides there too.
But right.
And let me say this, right? So when they diagnosed me with diabetes, my A1C was 14. Listen, it's supposed to be 5 or below for the normal human being. Like 5's high. I was at 14. All right, that's insane levels. Like that's fucking craziness. That's a level that you should never be at as a human, right? Like I was almost dead, and I took it from 14 to 6. And how I did this was I took off work for 2 months and I walked twice a day and I fucking worked out in a heavy bag and I cut out all the carbs. And that's how the fuck I did it, right? And when I went back to the doctor's office, I said, listen, I feel like I don't need like this stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Like, because like, you know, whatever. And I was like, this is all the stuff that I did. And they said, oh, really? You made that much change? Nobody does this. Because nobody does. Right? And even if people do this, or even if people do like take the meds, right, they don't lose the fucking weight, because what insulin does is insulin takes carbohydrates and turns them into fats, right? That's what, you know what I mean, fucking insulin does. And so like if you're not burning those fats, if you're not changing your intake of your food and all the things that you're doing, and you're not exercising, you're not burning calories, you're not doing all that shit, like you're not actually getting healthy, right, at the end of the day. And you're not changing anything, right? And that's kind of where, like, you know, you have to have this conversation. The average person, they don't want to do all this shit because they don't have to do all this shit. And the thing is they should have to do all this shit. You should have to go out. Like, you should not have access to like Doritos and fucking Oreos and Chips Ahoy, you know what I mean? And then not like have like regular access to apples, right? And that's kind of where things are, right? So the mentality is you should have food near you, right, at all times. You should have like chicken eggs out back. You should have, you know what I mean, fucking green beans growing in a garden. You should have fucking carrots. You should have potatoes. You should have celery. You should have all these things growing. You should have things canned that you're going to eat, right? And that's the things that you should be able to eat. It should be things that you should be able to produce locally, right? And then on top of that, you going and producing these things means that you go outside and you fucking garden and you get in the sunlight and you sweat and you fucking work and you toil and you weed and you do all the things that come with being a fucking human being, right? And then while you're doing this, you get social interaction by dealing with your neighbors while you're doing this shit and selling your excess stuff to everybody else and buying excess stuff from them, right? And going back and forth and having what's known as a community, right? And then like, you have all the women, you know what I mean, stand here and like at a harvest time when all the like big stuff comes in, like pumpkins and all these type of stuff, right? Everybody gets together and, you know what I mean, like you have the opportunity to be around your neighbors and your kids, and you care about whether or not they're like doing well because of the fact that like, your kids are going to grow up with their kids who are going to be reliant upon them to be able to grow fucking food, right? And it's a very basic ass thing. I'm not saying that you can't, still do construction or whatever it is and all this type of things, but you should have this as well, right? Which also means that you probably shouldn't be working, 74 fucking hours a goddamn day, right? That's kind of where things are. It should be a much more balanced thing because it has to be, right? That's like, if you needed 4 hours a day, right, to be able to do shit around your neighborhood and take care of things, right, you wouldn't be working 8, you'd be working 6 or 5 or whatever the case is. Now, this would like end up causing the economy to fucking collapse as it is now. But the way it would come back would be a much more durable thing and be much more enjoyable for the average human being. This is the mentality, rather than cutting out and like having economies of scale for all the stuff that like we, that we fucking, we eat on a regular basis. We should probably have that be some local shit that's produced by y'all, right? And have things that just make more sense. Like, I'll give you a good, like, for instance of this is like fucking the vast majority of farmers don't make any fucking money, right? Like the average farmer makes negative $900 a fucking year. That's not positive for anybody. Let's keep going.
But with nothing else will come close to the amount of change. Like starting metformin, maybe I can get their hemoglobin A1C down by 1.5. And that's tiny in comparison to what most people need when they're in really like the stage of diabetes where they're having side effects, where they're having vision issues, feet issues.
Morning, Dark Sharp. Morning, Enclave. Nice to see you out.
Cardiovascular issues. So pharma is not nearly as idyllic in my world. A lot of it is very problematic. Then you get medications that are starting to show promise, like the Ozempics, the GLP-1 agonists, the Mounjaros. They are better, but then access becomes a disaster, where patients can't access them. They want them. They can't get their insurance company to approve it. They don't have good insurance to cover it. There's a huge copay that they can't afford. So then access becomes a huge problem, where it's like, initially we're talking about a medicine that can help a lot of people, but then like, can people access it? How does the world react to it? How does it change our mindset to things like diet and exercise? So I guess my question would be, if we can get to a place where these medicines work real well, do you think there's an insidious effect where it starts impacting our psyche, where we don't want to challenge ourselves and we want the computer to do the challenging thing for us, the medicine to do the challenging thing for us, where it becomes a life of comfort? And the reason I bring this up is because in society as it exists today, we are safer than ever before, which we can agree is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
But now we have these huge problems because it is so safe. We have an anxiety epidemic.
Yes.
We have an anxiety epidemic from social media, which was supposed to make everything interconnected and wonderful. But now we're lonelier than ever before. So the things that came with a lot of good intentions ended up creating some significant bad outcomes.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I don't want to vilify everything with a broad brush, because social media is problematic for many ways, but there's huge benefits. We're having this conversation, we're educating people with evidence-based medicine and health and fitness information. Sure. So there is benefit. But then there's all these like pushbacks of like the homeostasis model, that the world and the mind exists with homeostasis, that when we create these pharma meds that will be the new fountain of youth, they're going to create some sort of huge pushback effect that maybe the people you've talked to in the past can't verbalize well, that they're saying it's negative, it's chemical, it's harmful. They can't really verbalize it, but there is always a huge bounce back negative reaction to when we make a breakthrough. Do you think, or do you worry about that at all when it comes to these medications?
It's just a real thing. Whether or not I think or worry about it, you're completely correct. It's definitely a thing. It's a very...
And can I say this about like social media, right, as a whole? So like, I don't do Facebook. I don't do like fucking Insta Snap, right? I don't do any of these fucking things, right? And I mean, like, I have like communication devices for like people I know, right? Like, for instance, on Snapchat, fucking Ace, who just had a baby, by the way. Anybody remember who fucking Ace of Skulls was, or Bearded Bastard? He just had a baby, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, hit me up on Snapchat. I was like, oh my God, bro, listen, fucking rock on. Congratulations, Papa, right? You know what I mean? There's a couple of cats, fucking Capo and a couple other dudes, them broads, you know what I'm saying, how that works, right? Then, like, you know, I have like Facebook Messenger for like, you know, kids and family, things of that nature, you know what I'm saying, they can get a hold of me, right? You know, but like, it's just literally means of communication, nothing more, right? It's nothing, no different than having like a fucking phone number. But like, everybody keeps changing fucking phone numbers all the time because, you know, cell phones. So like, the Facebook is kind of like a permanent thing. It can go through any phone number, right? Any phone that you have. So, you know, that's kind of where shit's at, right? In the end of the day. But like, you know, I don't do the rest of it. And I'll be honest with you, like, I tried Twitter here recently. Man, listen, bro, like, yo, fuck that shit. I'm cool. But the average person doesn't have that ability. Like, they'll sit on fucking TikTok, they'll sit on Facebook, they'll sit on fucking Twitter, they'll sit on fucking Instagram, and they'll look at all this shit, and it just drives them fucking bananas. And for your average person who doesn't recognize exactly what the fuck it's doing, it's literally like an alcoholic standing here going like, oh man, I had a bad day, I need a beer, without even thinking about the fact that like thinking that way is what motherfucking causes you to continue to be a fucking alcoholic, right? It's that type of shit. And you know, you can't keep doing this to every human being on the fucking planet and expecting them to be okay. We just heard about what happened down in like the fucking Amazon with that fucking tribe, where like literally they gave them, you know what I mean, fucking the internet and cell phones, and all of a sudden like now like everybody's addicted to fucking porn, and like the fucking dudes are over here like Andrew Tate and the fucking broads and shit, you know. It is not going fucking well. Like, yo, let's keep rocking.
Very interesting point you bring up that I've been giving some thought to lately, of maybe one of the proximate causes of the increase in anxiety in modern countries that are super safe and there's no real actual reason to be anxious, is because I think the human brain has a baseline level of expecting the world to suck and problems to surface. And when you don't have problems, your brain starts looking for them because it's pre-programmed to look for them. I mean, in the Paleolithic era in which we evolved, I mean, it was just terror.
It was a survival benefit to have the anxiety.
Gigantic carnivorous birds would pull you away from the campsite and kill you. It's just a regular thing. One of the reasons that a human...
Or it could be because of the fact that, like, literally, you know, everybody is one day from homelessness in this fucking, in modern world, right? In the end of the day. Like, you're one bad day from, like, everything just completely and utterly fucking collapsing, right? And that's just reality. That's not some fucking hyperbolic nonsense, whatever. This is fucking real. You are one fucking day from ending up on your fucking ass. And everyone knows this, right? So, like, this is why everybody's anxious, right? Because, like, none of this is natural. We don't have proper social nets, right? Like, for fucking family members, community, like, all this type of stuff. We don't have any of these things. You know what I'm saying? Right? Maybe this is the reason why everybody's like fucking on fucking edge, because we're all on a fucking edge. We're all on a goddamn ledge right now. You know what I mean? That's just reality of shit. Like, motherfuckers can't afford like basic shit. You know, this is where things are. Let's keep rocking though.
Human psychological universal is that people dream of and are scared of monsters is because monsters used to be real, like Pleistocene megafauna. It's just like, why is a tiger that big? Why is that bird 9 feet tall and eats meat? So we're programmed for a world that's generally like orders of magnitude more terrible in every conceivable way than our modern world. And when our modern world is amazing, people almost don't accept the Matrix program, sort of. They're looking for problems. And anxiety is kind of your brain's way of being like, something's wrong, I got to fix something. That's definitely a thing. I'd say a couple things about that. One is that's a different kind of problem and a much better problem. If you ask me, Mike, where do you want to live? A world like, do you want to live in Taiwan where everything's almost perfect, but you have an anxiety problem you got to see a therapist about? Or do you want us to send you to North Korea where you will not have anxiety and everything will make total sense, but it's terror every day that you wake up and go to sleep? I'm going to Taiwan. Thank you so much. It's a problem. It's not a perfect fix. But now we can do this thing where we zoom in on the problem. Okay, we have fixed...
I mean, that's not really the argument, right? It's not Taiwan or fucking North Korea. Right, it's, would you rather be like fucking Amish, right, or live in New York City? I think most of us would choose Amish, right? Like, I would rather be Amish than be forced to live in fucking Brooklyn. Like, fuck that shit. Just like fuck that altogether, right? This is the fucking problem, right? And this is the difference. And like, you can't compare like, oh man, North Korea is horrible, like, because it is. Like, North Korea is horrible. Taiwan is also fucking horrible. Right? Like, I would never want to live in fucking Taiwan. Like, fuck that place. Like, just keep it a buck.
Running water, we fixed longevity medicine, et cetera. Most people live into their 70s and 80s, short of getting hit by a bus or some other thing. Now what's the problem? Okay, we have an anxiety epidemic. Totally. How do we address that? One is therapy. One is relations. One is challenging yourself with difficult things all the time. One is going on your own journey of mindfulness and management and things like that, which are all great. Another one is drugs. And if our brains are designed for the Pleistocene time, this is a funny, controversial incoming idea, through a combination of pharmacology and eventually genomics, why don't we re-architect our brains Why don't we genetically engineer humans to become more rational, more calm, more positive, and less anxious at face value? Just that's how you live your life. Because now that we have this amazing modern world where calm, logical things are kind of the way you do things and get results, you don't have to have a fight or flight response anymore. Why don't we genetically engineer the fight or flight response generally down significantly and genetically engineer up?
I mean, yeah, listen, why don't, you know what I mean, like, why don't we just stand here, you know what I mean, and lobotomize ourselves? So, like, we're just, you know what I mean, fucking dumb all the time. We just wander around and be happy about everything that's going on. Or, like, maybe, you know what I mean, we could, like, you know what I mean, I don't know, find, like, some type of substance we could pour down our gullets that would make us fucking retarded so that we don't think about what's going on. Or maybe we could, like, you know, find a substance we could smoke that would, you know what I mean, just make us say fuck it and not care. Or maybe we could, you know what I mean, find a substance we could heat up on a spoon and put in a needle and then put into our fucking arm, right? That would make us not give a shit. I mean, we could do all of these things, right? And wait, we do all of these things. That's right. I forgot about that. Maybe that's what we're doing already, and the reason why we're doing this is because of the fact that, like, life sucks. Maybe we should fix life not sucking so much, right? Like keeping it 100, right? Maybe it's not the fact that, like, we have these fight or flight or fight responses, or maybe it's not the fact that, like, we're programmed wrong. Maybe it's the fact that we're not living properly as human beings. Maybe we shouldn't be engineering humans. Maybe, you know what I mean, like, we should live in a better way, right? Rather than, like, continuing to, like, you know, try to, I don't know, force square pegs into round holes all the time. Maybe that should be it.
Up just a calm level of happiness all the time. And I think pharmacology can do that very jadedly right now. These things are
What up, outsider?
Getting better. And so I think there are kind of two options. One is we try to become more primal and discard the benefits of the modern world.
Like Liver King.
Like Liver King, a known non-liar who's also not on steroids. Some people are just colored red. And like a Dr. Seuss book. Some people are blue, some people are red. Liver King.
His nickname was polycythemia.
That's right. It's a long nickname.
Before
hey, Polly, get over here. So we can think of discarding the modern world and all of its beautiful things. I'm not interested in living in a discarded modern world, and actually no one is either. A lot of video games today seem to be based on, like, a post-apocalyptic world. You don't want to live in a post-apocalyptic world because very mundane things are very bad. It's gray, you know, you've got your beautiful woman with long hair. It's not brushed, she's in the raw, hand in hand, you're going slaying dragons with your sword, it's awesome. Then you stub your toe and get an infection. Now, where is the factory that makes antibiotics? It doesn't exist anymore, we don't have modernity. You die the most terrible gangrenous death you can't even imagine. Prehistory was awful in almost every respect, but in that awful time, we generated a consistent amount of deep meaning. We were made for that awful world. So while things are awful, they make sense. And every day you wake up with purpose. You have to have purposes. Everything's trying to kill you all the damn time. So I don't want to discard anything. I want to keep all the modernity, all the wonder, all the drugs, see the problems they're creating as secondary, tertiary, quaternary effects, and address those one at a time by improving the medicines, yes, going to genomic interventions, and also just working on the problems with therapy, exercise. Exercise is a solution to a problem. We didn't used to need exercise because you were on the farm every day. In 1880, exercise is nonsense. You know, exercise generally was kind of born in the late 1900s. Like almost all sports were born in like 1890. Basketball and stuff was invented then because people had leisure time for the first time ever. And it was crazy to say, generally just didn't have it. So exercise is one of those solutions. Lifting in the gym is one of those solutions. We didn't lift in the gym primordially. It's a great solution. What I'm saying is taking that next step. Yeah, the gym was great for 150 years. Now we take that next step of eventually genomic intervention such that, you know, you take some kind of, I got in trouble with genomic people for saying viral vector because they're like, viruses actually are kind of dog shit at vectoring. It's like, whatever kind of vector is outside of my scope. And, you know, after a few weeks, you notice like it was kind of getting a six-pack. After a few more weeks, you just have ripped abs. You eat whatever you want, and that's how it works. We know it's possible. It works in animals. Some people walk around with those genetics. That doesn't just affect the body. You can get genomic interventions that affect the mind. I mean, a vast amount of depression is hugely genetically caused. Why not engineer that out? I think we're trending towards a world which I think is going to be here much sooner than people expect.
Wait. What? Hang on, man. Environmentals can potentially account for more than half of the influence on depression, with genetics accounting for the remaining 37 to 48%. Right? Like, yeah, real shit. Again, like this is fucking nonsense, bro. Like real shit, nonsensical garbage. Right? Like real shit. Like nonsense. What the fuck is you talking about? Like real shit. The vast majority of like fucking these fucking problems that you're talking about aren't like fucking some genetic issue. It's an environment. Again, fix the fucking environment that we're in. Why do you want to continue to like just throw pills down motherfuckers' throats? Go, hey, here, just fucking be happy. Fucking be happy. Be happy with the world I'm in. Like, listen, bro, this ain't even your fucking world. Let's keep it 100% honest, all right? I haven't mentioned this yet. You're a Russian Jew. This ain't even your world. Like, go to Israel where the fuck you belong, right? And go live there that way. Stop trying to push your nonsense on us. Like, you don't even fucking belong here. Keep it in a buck.
Because progress is exponential, in which we not only are we super, super healthy and psychologically and physically with nothing except genetic intervention that lasts forever, because once you get the fix, that's just your DNA. But we look at that problem differently, and we look back on our history and go, man, people used to have to spend 12 hours at the gym a week to do this? Holy crap. I think that better world is incrementally and slowly coming. And the paranoia, in some sense, about social media is destroying us all. Social media is perhaps one of the most wonderful things that has ever occurred. I met my wife through social media. If we didn't have social media, I would have had to like marry someone from the Metro Detroit area. Like, no offense, people are great there, but I would have never met the love of my life. And so much good stuff happens that here's another thing that humans do. We're problem seekers, because in our ancestral environment, if you weren't a problem seeker, you were dead the next day. And so we kind of, when things get good, we kind of go, yeah, okay, fine, they fixed that. But this side effect is the big crazy thing now. Dope. Let's fix that too. Mm-hmm. As we fix more and more management class, professional managerial class. This is what it is, right? And legitimately, like, again, back to Russian Jew, right? Legit, right? Fucking again, social media was not a really good invention. Like, that's the most nonsensical, dumb bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. Cell phones are not bad. I'll be honest with you. The ability to like communicate and have a communication device in your fucking pocket, you can call anybody in the fucking world. Great. Right. So again, a GPS locator in your pocket for your parents. Amazing. Right. All these type of things. Like, as a father, it's great. Love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, listen, I love to have a GPS location on my fucking kids at all fucking times. You're fucking right. Right. 100%. Yes. Right. Social media? No. Just in general. No. Not a good idea. Being able to stand here and, you know what I mean, have these fake thoughts of everybody put out into the fucking world, these fake images of what like human beings think they really are, what they want to portray to everybody at all times, so you feel like shit about how the fuck it is you're fucking living. It's garbage, right? Real shit. And I'm not even talking about me. This is why these like it's why these fucking teenagers be murking themselves all the fucking time and like fucking having anorexia, and these dudes are over here looking at guys who are all yoked going, oh, why am I not that big? And they're fucking hurting themselves and taking steroids and doing all this shit, trying to jump through these hoops to be able to do extracurricular nonsense. And by the way, you should have married a broad from your local fucking neighborhood. That's what should have fucking happened. Like, it's just completely and retardedly dumb, like real shit. And this is the fucking problem with these fucking people. They don't understand. Like, this is how shit's supposed to work. Your wife and you are not supposed to have access to every fucking person on the goddamn planet. Right? That's not how the hell shit's supposed to operate. Now, I live in this world. I operate in this world. I do okay in this world. So it's not like I'm bitching for me. I'm really not. I'm bitching for everybody the fuck else around me who are not as successful as me in this shit. That's where I am. thing, the world becomes better and better and better over time, and eventually we can change the very makeup that we have. Obviously, way outside the scope of the discussion, I think we're going to fuse with machine intelligence sooner or later and all that crazy Ray Kurzweil type of singularity stuff. I think it's inevitable, but on the way there, we have to, I think, admit two things. One is things used to suck. Two, things are getting better, and we will continue to make things better. They are imperfect, and some of our solutions have had some side effects that sometimes rival the scope of the problem itself. But we can make that better, and that better, and that better. So I tend to look at it not from an optimistic perspective, I don't think, a realistic perspective.
Joshua Demers, we all know you're the retarded genius, all right? And we love you, okay? Everybody knows that. All right, legitimately, I got to get some retarded genius like fucking t-shirts made up for you, bro. Like I really got them, man. I'm just donated all the fucking profit to you.
Perspective. If things get better all the time anyway. I mean, what year would you want to be alive if not 2024?
You're very optimistic.
I would. So thank you so much.
That's the thing. I think you are very optimistic. And I'll point out a couple of things.
Please.
Things get better. Well, what's your measuring stick for things have gotten better? Because there's certainly ways we can say certain things have gotten better, but like lifespan has been steadily rising and now has suddenly taken a downturn.
I mean, like, let me think about some years here. I would love to be alive in. How about fucking like 1965, 28, short stock market, right? Fucking anytime in the 1980s or 90s were way better than now, right? And I was there. The 2000s were pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? Trying to think here, like all the times that were really fucking amazing to live in. Fucking anytime before before 1900, we fucking just fine. I do all right and everything would be cool, right? Legitimately. Yeah, like all these times are fucking great. Why? Like, yes, I would love to live in any of these fucking times. The fuck are you talking about?
Happiness, especially for kids. After 2012, I just had Dr. Jonathan Haidt in the chair where you're sitting, who's pointing out a hockey stick graph that just shows the most dramatic spike in mental health illness in our children above the age of 12, 13 after puberty, especially in teen girls, where it's like, did things get better for them? Their world, like I know you're comparing and you're saying, would you like to live in a world where the anxiety is the problem or a world where you're under terror, under this terrible regime? And it's easy to downplay and say anxiety, you're physically much safer, whereas under that regime, you're actually much worse. But when you're a child with depression and anxiety, that world does not seem that great.
Yeah.
So like our perception of the problem is nearly as important as the problem itself. And currently, the level of unhappiness, even with all this amazing outcomes of safety and social media connecting all of us, all those problems have gotten worse. So like the thing, like I guess it's like, what are you benchmarking as your progress with innovation?
Let me think about this, right, man? Listen, so like, let me look up this, bro, because I want to be honest. I'm gonna let me look this up because I have a weird feeling. Fucking. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, okay, yeah, look here, bro. Look here. Okay, man, listen, look at this shit, bro. Like, the fuck out of here with this nonsense. Listen, okay, listen. Okay, so, we're gonna look at the motherfucking crime statistics for, like, the U.S., right? Homicide rate per capita is per 100,000 people, right? From 1900 to 2022, right? Fucking, like, look at this low. Look at the low, right? From 1934 to, like, 1970, like, there was less crime than there is right the fuck now. We are not in the safest time it's ever been. This is nonsense. And then look, 1994 to like fucking 2000 and like fucking 2020, right? Look at the low. Look at the low. Right? This is complete and utter nonsense. Like, the fuck are they talking about? Like, listen. Like, what is my man's talking about? Like, real shit. Like, why would you say these fucking words and shit? Like, real talk. Real talk? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, you know what I mean? Look, total incarcerated human beings. Look, incarcerated people. Look at this. Look. Less people incarcerated, more people incarcerated. You see this shit? Like, listen, why are they saying like it's safer now, right? Like, real shit. Violent crime, homicide, right? Fucking, like, rape, robbery, right? Fucking, again, right? Like, shit peaked in like 1999 with like the violent crime rate, right? To 2022, but again, like, literally it was way lower in the fucking 1960s. Like, yeah, of course you would want to live before then, right? Like, this is a dumb, like, why would they say these words? Like, the safest time ever. No, the fuck it's not. Like, it is literally not. Like, yo, fucking, why do they say these words? Like, yo, it's so stupid. Right? This fucking, like, dumb things that fucking people say, right? Here, look, fucking, look, 1980, fucking, like, literally Scotland, Australia, Wales, right? You know what I mean? Like, U.S., fucking, we were at a lower point in 1980 for, like, fucking burglary. Again, we are not at the safest time ever. This is dumb, right? We are heading in the wrong direction with this. Like, why are they saying these words?
Because if it's happiness, that's not going up. If it's length of life, that's not going up. What's the benchmark for the optimism?
I say almost everything has been getting better over time. In very modern countries, there has been, in some metrics, a flatlining and some regression, but we're just picking these metrics randomly. So, for example, child death due to disease, like an 8-year-old who just gets leukemia and like 1982, we ain't got nothing for you. That is just dropping like crazy. So when we zoom into a problem, specifically early teenage depression, anxiety, specifically for females more than males, we're zooming into this very serious but microcosmic problem versus all of the problems we used to have. And because we're very problem-oriented, it seems like, well, look, this is bad, yes, but everything else has gotten so much better. 98% of things have gotten better. 2% of things have regressed significantly. But we have so much bandwidth to address those now. So I would say almost every metric is things are getting better over time. And for people in the developing world, things are skyrocketing, getting better. You go to India, every 10 years, it's unrecognizable in a real serious way. I mean, their environment is improving over there in a real serious way because they're just not polluting like they used to back in the day. It gets better all the time. So yes, there are still problems and some things are getting worse, but now we have bandwidth to address those things. And what do we have now? AI-powered drug discovery is just taking off. And they're just like the Google DeepMind has just signed contracts with all the major pharmaceutical corporations to develop drugs. And the drugs we'll have in 2030 are going to make current drugs seem like bloodletting, more or less. And then they can actually engineer out anxiety, depression. Another thing is, my libertarian side is showing through, you can always just not engage with social media. I still haven't seen a law where they make you go on Facebook and Instagram. So some people who will vociferously complain about social media on social media, it's a curious interaction. You can always put your phone down and go walk around. Another thing is people say they get really addicted to their phone. That's definitely a problem. It's a one hell of an attention-inspiring device. But also people are really good at acclimatization. I mean, scrolling on TikTok is fun until it's not fun. Until the next day you're scrolling, like it's the same dancing idiots. F this, you throw your phone away, and then you go look at the sun or whatever, enjoy nature, whatever we're supposed to be doing.
What world does that exist?
Hypothetical, right?
Who's doing that? Who's throwing away their phone and going out looking at nature?
You never would hear about them because they're not on social media to talk about it. How's that for a contradiction?
Well, I think that would be true, but if we look at statistics of like what time kids are spending screen time, it's just going up and up and up.
I like that. I'm very pro screen time.
And what we're seeing actually when the kids are going through puberty with screen time as opposed to Jonathan Haidt says this very well. He talks about the difference between a play-based childhood and a phone-based childhood. And he talks about when you're going through puberty and a child is on a phone, their development is heavily stunted because of the lack of interaction with risk, because the risk that you have outside playing on a I forgot the...
Parents engineered that away. Parents do not like risk.
Absolutely.
They ideally want zero risk.
Well, you also want a world with no exercise.
Totally.
So you want no risk either.
Oh, so I don't have, it's not the risk problem with exercise that I don't like, it's the time problem. It's just 8 hours a week of just doing this and looking in the mirror, which I like to do, but most people think it's a huge waste of time.
Sure.
Then
But
again, I'm
writing
so
an
beautiful.
essay, like, look, writing an essay takes work, right? If you're trying to develop the ideas in your mind, and that process is really beneficial. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
But it's a huge time waste. You could have ChatGPT write it.
Sure.
So do you go that way? Say, why would you waste your time writing an essay? Just let ChatGPT do it?
I'd say the more we can offload more intellectual problems to AI, the better, because it leads to one possible world, a world in which we no longer have any intellectual problems. Because the more AI does our intellectual work for us, the more it frees us up to do other intellectual work AI is not doing. So for example, battling your own demons in your head, AI can't help you with that yet. It can get your term paper done for you, but it can't like figure out why your dad said that thing to you. You were 8 years old and you still can't make sense of it. Now you have more time for that. Then you work on that. Eventually AI can help us with that. Eventually we're in a world where AI has solved almost all of our problems, and then that's paradise, by the way. And something that we think we shouldn't take for granted is that compared to our ancestral world, today's world is nonsensically paradisical. I mean, my God, look at what we're doing. I can't even describe. Imagine Thomas Jefferson came back, not zombie version.
Yeah, listen here. This dude, Mike. Yeah, funny motherfucker to watch. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Mike, you know what I mean? The fucking actual doctor. I like the guy, just as in a general thing. I think he's, you know what I mean, not a terrible guy. You know, I do enjoy watching some of his content. You know what I mean? I think he means well. The other guy, though, I think he's just a bag, right? Just keeping it 100% honest. I did this because I figured TK Mao would enjoy me bagging on his homie. But yo, look, it's been about an hour. I'm gonna go get some fucking rest for today. I just wanted to get some of this like fucking bullshit out of my head so I could fucking rest. I love y'all motherfuckers. I'm gonna holla at y'all later. Peace be like one.